So, you are standing in the brush, looking out across a beautiful field or forest of these large golden oak trees. Their trunks, dozens of feet in diameter, reaching far, far up into this night sky. They're disappearing into the shadows. A procession of beautiful elvish people are making their way down this path, singing this lovely but sad hymn. Their gowns are silver with little bits of blue and almost have a luminescent quality to them as they slowly make this procession down this pathway. You kind of peer through the brush. This is the second time you've seen this particular type of procession in the past 2 days. But for the second time, you have not been invited to join, but you merely watch from a distance. Their words carry high, high into the canopy of the trees, and in one voice, the song carries the memories of the dearly departed which they are about to lay to rest. You traveled here with kind of at a whim with Adrian and her cousin. Her cousin had arrived to whisk Adrian away because of the death of her father and her eldest brother. And yet before they could manage to make their escape away, you leapt to action thinking that your elvish friend was in danger and got whisked away to the elvish lands along with them. So for the past couple of days, you have spent in the elvish city of Erendir, on the eastern coast of the elvish kingdom. This is Adri's hometown. A rather massive city, but not one like you've ever really seen before, where the gnomes build their homes deep in the hills underneath the trees and everything. These elves have built their city up in the tops of this massive forest canopy. You can see the lights of the various houses and structures kind of glimmering like stars in the canopy above. But right now your focus is on these elves as they slowly make their way towards a white marble structure that's kind of set off into kind of like a hillside. This, you know, is the catacombs where they have been laying their dead to rest for generations. And you watch as Adri, in her silvery white gown, carrying the light that represents her dreams and wishes for her father's travels into the next realm, carries before her and kind of illuminates her very somber face. Once they disappear inside the large mausoleum, you find yourself in silence in the forest below the town. You know it's safe here. You haven't heard or seen any signs of any kind of real danger in this particular region. But you don't feel particularly like going back up to the city itself at the moment. What would you like to do?
So what are my surroundings currently?
Right now, lush vegetation. The trees themselves are these massive trees, hundreds of feet tall. These ancient Valenwood trees. Much larger than any of the trees you've ever seen in any place else. And some of the history that you've gathered for the city tells you that some of these trees are more ancient than many of the kingdoms within the realm itself. The lower portions underneath the trees is basically just woodlands for the most part. There are well-kept paths that kind of wind their way between the various tree trunks and to lush gardens, very carefully nurtured, wild in their nature, but at the same time cultivated into these very lovely displays of nature.
Okay.
The path before you is mostly these white cut stones kind of set into the ground. The stone is very clean and precise in the sense that it looks as though the stone has been cut recently. Still has that very clean gleam to it of fresh stone. Yet the growth around each of these stones is very much attests to the fact that they've been here for centuries.
Pardon me.
Each of the stones and the tree trunks themselves seem to kind of emanate a very dull light. You have been told that the forest itself is fey touched, so therefore has a magical quality to it.
Okay. I would like to kind of follow one of the paths and just explore a little bit around the forest.
Okay, so you begin wandering through the various paths and exploring some of the various gardens and everything. And when you come across a couple of elves walking kind of hand in hand, they don't seem to be speaking to one another, but they seem to be just kind of enjoying one another's company. A young couple. When they see you approach, they smile, nod towards you politely, but they don't speak to you. They just kind of move on about their business. Something you've noticed is most of the elves here have very politely but quietly ignored you for pretty much the entire time you've been here. The wood elves seem to be far less welcoming of strangers, but because of your own Fey heritage and the fact that you came here with one of the natives, so to speak, they've just kind of begrudgingly allowed you to wander about and do as you wish.
They're still more hospitable than the drow. So.
Yeah, they haven't been downright rude to you, but they don't go out of their way to make conversation with you or anything of that nature for the most part. The house that you've been staying in, which is the family house where Adri basically took you to, has been more hospitable. Her brother, the one that survives, and her mother have been both very, very gracious hosts, interested in your stories about where you've come from and what you intend to do with your very short life. But but they are currently, like Adri, part of the procession where they're laying Adri's father to rest. 2 nights before, they had laid her brother to rest, both of which had died under odd circumstances. But you don't know much more than that.
It's kind of rude to just go, hey,
Yeah.
can we autopsy?
I would like to poke the bodies with a stick.
Do you have a 10-foot pole?
Meanwhile, you are in followed this procession of dozens of these elves. Some of them close family members, your mother, your brother, your cousin, and their various family members, the wives, husbands, children. But for the most part, it's also a number of just close friends and stuff like that. Once you get inside this fairly large circular chamber in this tall domed building, the procession kind of moves out and around off to the side, whereas you and the direct family members go into, along with the remains, into another chamber. The rest stay outside and they kind of continue the song and their various prayers and everything, sending off the spirit of your father to the next realm across the sea of stars and back to what the elves believe the Fey Wilds, where they will reside with the Dreaming Court forevermore. But it's your duty, along with your brother and your mom, to basically take the remains into the room and basically clean it and wrap it in the ceremonial silk bandages and everything, and then basically say your final goodbyes before he's interred with the rest of the basically in the family crypt down below.
Okay.
So, my dad being one of those hunters, is it Cormiri?
Mm-hmm.
How do you say that?
Yeah.
Is that like an elite military thing? Like,
Yeah, it was
there?
something that he was always kind of been a part of. He hadn't had a whole lot of reason to go anywhere near as far as, well, where he wound up going with your brother this past time. But it's something that he basically has been doing off and on. He's kind of like, it's basically just kind of like a rank, like U.S. Marshals,
Yeah.
where they have a much broader, they're not contained within a city or a state, but they basically patrol the entire nation, going wherever it is they need to go. But generally speaking, he's remained here. What he was doing in the far western regions of the kingdom, you're not completely certain.
Were there any survivors from that hunting party that came back?
No. And there was a total of 5 of them,
Okay.
and only the remains of your brother and father were found. Well, technically there's remains of one other, but they're not certain as to who.
Who found them?
There was a group of, not really adventurers, but basically just some campers, so to speak, that were basically just kind of out doing, kind of enjoying the wilds and nature, and when they discovered the bodies, and then turned it over to the authorities from there.
Okay. So what happens after his body gets interred? Will there be is there like a party or a wake? Do elves do wakes?
Of
That's a
sorts.
dwarven
They do what's called a celebration of life, where they basically kind of get together and talk about moments that meant a lot to them. Usually something that's a fond memory. That way, it kind of helps. It's believed to give the spirit release.
Okay.
You know, you remind them that they did good, that, you have happy thoughts, so that they can turn themselves loose and go on to the next side, as opposed to lingering regrets.
Okay.
The elves, over the centuries, have discovered that along with their long lives and connection to life, it's become very, very strong even in death. So they have these very distinct ceremonies, and this is very reverent to them, because for the longest time they also had problems with members lingering and becoming undead.
Okay.
So in order to help them detach from this realm to go on to the next, this entire process is very, very important, which is the reason why your cousin specifically came and retrieved you.
Yeah. Well, especially so if there was weird circumstances with his death,
That too.
they don't want him holding on to that and staying. So, I mean, I'm just going to be with my family and doing their traditional burial stuff. And then, how long does that last? How long are we down in the crypt for?
Pretty much the entire night. The ceremony comes to an end at sunrise, in which case, basically, at the dawning of the new day, you go forth and you basically have your little day of remembrance and celebrate the life, and that basically lasts the entire day, with little breaks of people coming and going, depending on, their 4 hours of reverie or whatever for their meditations.
Okay.
But that will happen actually at the family home.
Okay. Is there do they have priests or things that lead this?
Yeah, there's
So-
for the most part there's clerics and stuff that can provide guidance, but for the most part, this part of it is mostly just a family thing.
Okay.
There's really no die rolls or anything you need to make for it. It's just a
Alright.
process that you just know to do, and you just kind of
Yeah.
do it.
I think, I'm probably there remembering my dad, but also, with the way he died, I'm going to want to ask around and see if there's any clues that anyone can give me. Because I'm assuming if he had been doing this his whole life, he was pretty, pretty good at it.
Yeah, he was noted. He was a noted officer.
Yeah.
Your brother, a little less so, but he was young. For an elf.
Yeah. Alright.
So, you guys, for the past couple of days, have been spending time in Rokashima, being celebrated heroes. You know, you spread your story about how you battled the Jade Witch and prevented the return of the Jade Warlord. And then, of course, all your various exploits and adventures within the forest to the north. And then, of course, the Witch of the, you know, your encounter with the Witch of the Wood and all of these things. And the locals are very excited to hear about your story. They give you lots of food and drink, and they have feasts, and just generally it turns into a little bit of a celebration for you guys. But over the past 3 days, you haven't had any word from Adri. Your cleric friend, you very sadly laid her to rest, but for you, she wasn't that close of a friend yet. Yet this is yet another companion that did not survive the adventures, so that kind of weighs a little heavy on you. But for you, it was a bit more sad. I mean, you'd known her for several months now. You know, you weren't like the closest of friends, but you were indeed actual friends. And you didn't know her at all.
I am basically the guy in the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean when everybody's like, "Yay, we won!" and he just comes out of the back cabin and just like, "Ha ha, ha ha, yeah." It totally helped, but really didn't. Except for like 5 minutes.
Erlu has pretty much been MIA since everything was done. He was completely expecting Adri to be back by now, and the fact that she hasn't returned is kind of weighing heavy on him. So he's been spending a lot of time outside of town,
Trying to find her, that kind of thing, or just souls
Moping.
moping.
moping for the most part, just moping.
Sneaking around, that dog that he has out there.
But what is it that you guys are currently doing? It is fairly late in the evening. You guys have had some drinks, some food, there's music, people will come by and, you know, talk to you, you know, excitedly wanting to hear your tale. Some of them for the billionth time.
Which I'm starting to get really short with those ones. My character would personally, for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't mind telling them over and how great I
It's
am.
like, well, you gotta buy me a drink first,
Yeah.
or
I mean, I probably had quite a few drinks now since they're all wanting to hear this. So.
Liesel's just gonna be basically taking notes and writing down, documenting it basically because that's what she came here for. So learn more about the Jade Palace and the Jade Warlord. She got all up close and personal with that shit, so just gonna write it down.
Okay.
And I would be doing what I would assume would be my normal nightly routine of like head in books, research, trying to find basically information out about the rings, where my mother would be, that kind of thing, as well as a little bit of just keeping an ear out for where Adri could have gone, that kind of thing.
Okay.
There's definitely been some stuff that I've heard recently that have made me think about how to handle this, and of course, outside of that, my original intent too about breaking the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I doubt there's a whole lot of information here, but
They're definitely
Here?
speaking in code.
Not so
Yeah.
much. All right. So, you kind of make your way through, for the most part, through the entire night, kind of wandering about until you finally get tired enough that you just kind of return to where you're staying and crawl into bed and get some sleep. Waking up the next morning, you hear that there seems to be some sort of gathering going on downstairs in the main room. So you kind of get up, get dressed, and kind of go out onto a balcony overlooking this rather large semicircular common room where you see Adries kind of walking around and with various family members and stuff, and they're all kind of talking, laughing, recounting various stories about things that have taken place. Do you speak Elven?
No,
Awkward.
Yeah, so you have, for the most part, no
I
idea.
speak Sylvan.
Yeah. Yeah, you have no idea what they're saying, but they seem to be having a rather pleasant time. Not quite what you expected after the past couple of days of very solemn, very sorrowful kind of events and ceremonies. This particular event seems to be way happier than you would obviously have expected.
I died again. Did you?
I'm updating everyone's names.
You didn't die.
I haven't been here for a
These
Yeah,
while.
this is. I died last session.
No, Liesel's been.
Oh, Liesel. Yeah.
Is-
Well, she
is-
came in last session. So I'm playing with Erin since she started.
I know, you just like, I died.
I died
So,
again.
Again.
you
How
see
many
that
party
there's
members am I gonna go
food
through?
and drink and music and people kind of moving about, talking and laughing and just generally having a fairly pleasant time. What do you wish to do?
I'm gonna go and kind of seek out Adri and see.
Okay.
Kind of try and speak with her about what exactly is going on because I'm not sure.
You see that she is not far from the bottom of the stairs. She is speaking with a young, very pretty but thin, frail, elvish female, a mage that you met the very first night when you guys got whisked away. You know that she's the cousin, Adri's cousin, and a fairly novice wizard. But they're down there kind of talking and enjoying each other's company at this point.
So Adri, what all is going on here? Everyone seems very happy. It's kind of odd.
Well, we laid my father's remains to rest in the crypt and released him, basically, so now we can enjoy celebrating who he was and talk about his life. So that's basically what this is. So we'll grab some food and a drink, and
That sounds a lot better than everyone's kind of celebrating that he's gone.
no, he was well loved, and he had been in the hunters for a long time. It's like a elite hunting group. So he'd been in there a long time, and I mean, I probably had a couple drinks by this time too.
Oh yeah.
Elven wine. So I mean, I have questions that I need answered, but today's not the day to do that.
Okay. So what else is there to this ceremony?
That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
We'll just be here all day. People will come and go and off and on, and so you don't have to feel obligated to stay all day if you don't want to. And
May I speak with the wizard?
Yeah.
Um.
By the way, her name is Sarah Sinel.
Okay. Hello, Sarah. My name is Juniper.
Yes, we have met.
And
Now, she is very, very pale. All the people that you've met here, all of the elves, tend to be darker in their skin tones, with kind of either very warm brown, reddish brown, auburn hair, or black in her case, and kind of deeper, more sun-kissed skin tones, a little stockier in their overall build. I mean, still slight compared to, say, like humans or whatever, but have a little bit more athletic frame than, say, Silent, who's a high elf. Her cousin seems to be more high elf than wood elf, though. She's got fairly pale skin, silvery blonde hair and these blue eyes that have these silver starburst pattern at the center of them. She's pretty, well, what you would consider to be an attractive female, but again, frail in her overall structure and everything. A little bit that you've gotten to know about her is that when she was younger, first off, her mother is High Elf and her father was Wood Elf. She adopted, or she seemed to gain more of the High Elf traits than the Wood Elf traits, complete with the affinity for spellcasting. She was sick a lot when she was younger, though, and spent a lot of time in bed reading, that kind of thing. That's the reason why she's a little bit, still a little bit thin and frail looking. But she's also very, very well educated and super excited to talk to Adri about her various adventures. She tried to go with you a lot of times when she was younger because she wanted to go out and she wanted to adventure, and you were doing that. You know, you were going out and hunting and having these crazy exploits with a strange druid boy in the forest and all that kind of stuff, and she wanted to do
That
that.
must have been the talk of the town. I probably got a really bad reputation.
But of course she couldn't do that for the most part. But you kind of bonded with her a little bit because you felt bad for her. So you would go and you would do all these adventures and have all this fun and everything, but you always made it a point to come back and tell her about it, and you know, kind of so that she could sort of live vicariously through your exploits.
Did I
because-
just not take her because she's too frail?
Yeah,
or-
she was just way too sick. I mean, she did go out and do some things with you guys from time to time when she was in her healthier moments, but for the most part, until she was pretty much grown and you were getting ready to leave, that before she was like really able to do anything.
Okay.
So during most of her younger life, she was spent bedridden.
So what does she have? Do we know? Is it like something chronic or?
She was just
She's got a really low con.
sick. Yeah, she
Real
was just
bad.
sick a lot when she was younger, and that had
Like a weakened immune system? Or?
yeah.
Okay.
She's fine now for the most part. I mean, she's still not as hardy as some of the rest of the locals, but she doesn't get sick as much anymore.
That's good.
But she is quite the accomplished wizard. Not exactly as well experienced as, say, your adventuring party, but she's acquired quite a bit of knowledge, and she has a fairly extensive library of arcane tomes and texts, scrolls and various things that she's gathered. Matter of fact, the way she came to get you was she took advantage of her master's scrying pool, located you, and then used a scroll that basically is called the recall scroll, basically allowing her to teleport to your location, but only for a limited amount of time. So it's basically she could teleport to your spot, but she would basically yo-yo back to where she was within like a few combat rounds, so to speak. So it was very, very, very limited, but that's what she had available. So that's how she basically got you, and how she got snapped back into going with you guys, because she come thinking you were in trouble because she showed up out of nowhere. You know, quickly told you what was going on, and she doesn't speak Elven,
Yeah.
and you guys were about to pop away when she comes running up and gets caught into the area effect of the teleportation and winds up going back with you.
Good thing all of you came.
Yeah.
That's true.
Matter of fact, it's the way that she intends to essentially get you back to your companions when you're ready to go.
But she's never tried it.
Hmm?
Wouldn't we yo-yo back then?
She would. She's the caster.
Oh, okay. So
You
she
basic-
would just like push us basically, and then
Yeah,
would
she
come
would
back.
basically take you there, and then she would snap back.
Very cool.
We
Because
take
she's
her with
technically
us.
the focus of the spell, plus a certain amount of space around her.
Okay.
Can we take her with us?
Now, technically, if you wanted, she could take you to wherever your friends are using the scrying pool, and then
Or she could take you somewhere else.
grab all of you back to the Elvish lands if that's what you wanted.
Hmm.
But she only has one more scroll, so
Yeah.
and you have to basically gather them quickly because you only get about 5 minutes to.
I mean, it wasn't disorienting for me to have her show up and take me back there because I knew
You knew who she
I knew
was.
who she was. If we showed up and like
If it was just her, yeah,
just her and grab everybody else, and
yeah. That's why
would be
she would
nice.
have to like say take you
blood would be shed.
with her.
You're not taking me anywhere.
Fight me, bro.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're doing well. So, can you explain to me a bit more about the type of group Adri's father was involved in, and her brother?
The Coromiri hunters? I'm not quite the expert on that, but I can give you the little bit of information that I know. They are usually made up of warriors and woodsmen, people skilled at tracking and surviving in the wilds. They hunt criminals that are more than what, say, the local law enforcement generally can deal with.
So,
And they can also can track down criminals that have fled beyond our borders, going out to other kingdoms and stuff, with the authority of the Elvish king to return, so that they can be properly put on trial and or punished if that's what it comes down to.
were you informed in any way as to why he had traveled so far?
Oh no, I haven't really had much contact with Adri's father very much. Over the past several months he's been, well, since you left, he's been very busy with the business of the Coromiri, whereas I have been spending most of my time with the council.
I see. Adri, is there anything you would like to speak about, or would you like this to be more of a day of celebration and rest?
Well, we're here, and I was just actually wondering if you had a chance to look at the bodies and sense any magic on them, or...
Oh, I did not, but perhaps in the evening or perhaps tomorrow you should go speak with the clerics, or perhaps even go to the Coromiri Lodge
Okay.
to gather more of that information.
Yeah.
I was, like I said, I was not privy to most of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Once I had found out about it, my primary focus was finding and retrieving Mew.
Thank you for that. I need to be here with my mom and brother and support them through this too.
At this point, you see a small elvish girl come running over towards you. She's got this long reddish brown locks that kind of curl naturally around her, and her rather at a young age, her ears seem quite long and over large for her rather small face. And she comes running over and says, "Auntie Adri, why don't you tell me some more about your adventures?"
Oh, what do you want to know about?
And she's like, "Tell me about the weird druid. Is he always an animal?
No.
I bet he smells bad."
Well, he does smell bad, but don't tell him I told you that. No, he's not always an animal. Sometimes he turns into his normal form. I don't know. He's just my friend, and we grew up in the woods together.
I'd like to meet him. Sounds weird.
He's pretty hilarious. He gets on my nerves sometimes. But yeah, you can meet him sometime. Perhaps he'll come here.
Does he poop in the house?
And I'll just kind of shoo her off, like, go on, get out of here.
She's got
That is a legit question.
A little
Is he
kid
a
would ask that.
Does it do a shit?
So meanwhile, during it's about midday for you guys the next day, and you kind of walking about, gathered back up, and you're probably thinking at this point, it's what's next? After all, you don't know for certain whether or not Adri is coming back. You haven't seen the gnome. You kind of assume that maybe they are together, but you don't know for certain that they did disappear at the same time.
They're in love. Do you have?
No judge.
I haven't met any of these people, so I don't know. Do you have the DMG?
Yeah.
I forgot how much it costs to make a scroll.
Figure it out at some point. You don't have time right now to do it.
Well, I figured we'd have a few days of downtime in the city or in the town that I'd work. I just need to replace my Nox scroll. Carry on.
No, you guys carry on.
So, are we meeting up for like regular meals? Do we go our separate ways? I mean, you guys seem like a group, and I kind of want to stick with that because I'm done here. I've gotten what I need. So.
I don't really have a group anymore. But if they need my assistance, that's where I'm. If your group still needs my assistance.
You don't want to be part of our group,
I don't
our
know.
death group.
Well, I've lived, so. On my sheer cunning wit there. No, just kidding.
Well, we're both magic types. I'm assuming that we would have talked about that stuff. I probably would have tried to prod you for what your knowledge is in relation to Fey pacts and maybe the magical rings. Maybe not letting loot. Obviously not letting on that I have one of said rings and in said pact. But
Yeah.
So I'm asking for a friend. If my friend were in a pact with, say,
Well,
an
it's like
evil
he's
Fae,
asking like this. Like he's got it
And
on, and he's just like, yes,
perhaps
magic
had a
rings.
ring.
No, it's more like,
What-
well, this is an area of interest of mine. What knowledge do you have of this? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Which I'm guessing would be fairly limited because
I'm assuming
Make
that
an Arcana check.
they're old. So
Mia as a player is assuming the answer is basically no, but I know that my character would be
Yeah.
doing.
yeah, 16.
16. You know a bit about the various pacts and stuff. It is arcane in its overall nature, generally speaking, but when it's a pact between like archfey and old gods and various fiendish devils and what have you.
No, when
But
you
it's
say
not an extensive thing that you know a heck of a lot about because that's usually kind of in the realm of secret lore that the warlocks have a tendency to kind of like hold on to for themselves. And a lot of times it's usually personal between the pacts are different for the most part, you know, because it's a personal pact between one person and whatever.
one deity or power.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So-
for there to be 5 rings, would they all be attached to?
Now that's just for
That's a
pacts.
separate-
That has
yeah, the
nothing
ring-
to do with the rings.
Yeah, they're two separate things.
Now, if you want to make a check about the rings, how much information are you sharing about the ring?
Only just that I've heard of a set of rings that are tied to different elements, and I'm not sure exactly how many there are, but
That would like boost your spell power for those for that specific element, right?
basically, just kind of a vague, like, oh hey, I've heard
19.
something about this before.
You've heard of a variety of different rings that can do similar
And
things.
rings of wizardry and things.
Yeah, but for an actual set of rings, that's a completely different kind of deal. You don't really have much in way of information about that.
Plus, it's confusing. Why would there be 5 rings if you can only gain the benefit of 2 magical rings at once? I mean, the gods put limits on things. We can have a nice scholarly debate about that. My question would basically be, trying to share what knowledge you've got so far, and then just be like, so what happened to the rest of your party? It sounds like there's people that are missing.
Can we take a break real quick?
Sure.
Got baby crying.
Sure.
Baby.
So when we left off, you guys were talking about what you were going to do next.
What is your guys' plan now that the Jade situation's been handled?
Well, at this point, trying to figure out what's happened to Adri, and then I know I've got a couple leads that I'm working on.
How long will you wait for this Adri person?
Undecided. I mean, at this point, I figure this place is as good as any for me to just sit down and research things.
I think it could get boring living in a small town like this after a while.
I've got things that you can research.
What kind of things?
Shiny thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some of the stuff that we collected from our last adventure. We still haven't figured out what it is.
Totally thought I was going a different way. I'm just really concerned at the moment.
It's not that kind of game.
Though I am an elf.
And I am Italian, so.
What are you trying to say, Steve?
Put his dick in anything.
Aaron's glad
Oh,
she did not
damn.
take that sip.
I'm very glad I didn't take a sip of that tea. It would have been all over y'all.
So, got. I guess we'll start with the dagger.
The dagger?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you want me to start rolling, or?
Yeah, whoever is going to attempt to do the Arcana check to
Nice.
figure out what it is.
I'll assume it would be me first, just because of inter-party dynamics.
Can
and
we
Okay.
work together and I can assist?
You don't know.
Bam.
Which means you would have advantage.
I rolled a natural 20, so it'd be a 20.
On the dagger,
Yeah.
it is a dagger of venom.
Ooh.
So it's a standard +1 dagger, but it does an extra d6 in poison damage.
Poison. Put poison.
Yeah, if you want it.
I will
Right.
assist,
Yes, it's
lending my character's extensive knowledge of reading this.
There's a cloak.
cloak.
I'm pulling these things out of my bag.
What the shit, Ian? 2 in a row? Is it a natural 20?
Okay. It is a cloak of the Montebank. So basically allows you to dimension door yourself once a day.
Like you can make deposits and withdrawals, but not exceeding the cash amount of $500 a day.
The cloak of the mountain bank. You can go into the dwarf vaults once a day.
So what does that mean? Dimension door once a day?
You can teleport basically up to 300 feet away.
Oh.
It's like as per the spell dimension.
Yeah,
door.
there's
Oh,
a spell dimension door. There's
Yeah.
It just does that once a day, but it only affects the wearer.
Mm.
This I'm assuming is a fan. It's like a
Yeah.
right. Okay. So a fan.
That's probably for the. I would have called. Dad, what?
Another
What?
natural 20.
We're not in combat. What's going
What?
on here, man?
He's
This
using
is
them all
a-
up now.
It's a wind fan.
It's my forte.
While holding the fan, you
Oh,
can
it's
use
okay.
an action to cast the Gust of Wind spell from it. Once used, the fan shouldn't be used again until the next dawn. Each time it's used again before then, it has a cumulative 20% chance of not working and tearing into useless, non-magical tatters. So once a day, you can use it to cast
Or
Gust
else.
of Wind.
You could potentially use it more, but you end up potentially
Damaging it.
Losing it.
losing
Yeah.
the fan.
Hacks.
Okay. And then
Got that clearing up polish.
there's 2 rings. So here's the first ring.
They're just rings. They're not like. There's no description on the ring that you know of.
No.
No, not that I know. 19.
Yeah, 26.
There's the first one that you look at is a ring of protection +1.
Alright, the second ring. 20 total.
Ring of swimming gives you a swim speed equal to your movement speed, so 30 foot for 35 for you if you were to wear it, and that's basically what it is.
No breathing underwater or anything fancy like that, just swim.
Just swim.
And then the last, a while ago, is this black onyx chess piece.
Is that magical?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying.
I can detect magic at will, or I can just do that on a
It
con
is
check.
indeed magical. It's actually very powerfully magic.
Okay. Well, let's see if I can figure out what this is.
What? What?
Another natural 20 or 27 total?
The chess piece, you can tell it is magical. It has very powerful summoning / transmutation magic on it. But it seems to actually purposely resist you.
Oh.
Because you're cursed.
So it has, like,
It has a sentence.
it has this.
It is a
sentient-
sentient
Let's get stuck with all these
Summoning
sentient
and-
items.
Sorry, summoning and what was the other?
transmutation.
Transmutation.
So I don't know specifically what it does, but
Yeah,
It
it
is
purposely
intelligent.
blocks you from being able to actually figure out how to activate it or what it actually does.
So if you
But
have
you
any
know it
issues-
has very, very powerful and ancient enchantments on it. For a matter of fact, you're not completely certain it is actually from this world.
So are we talking arcane, or maybe it's resisting you because it's partially divine magic because it's from another world? Aliens. So you have an alien chess piece.
Dagger. But, so, these are the spoils from our adventure, and I'm laying them out there. So, I would like to keep the dagger for myself.
I have no use for it. I would forget and try and use it in my dinner.
That would be bad.
That would be terrible.
You do.
yeah, she's not here.
Hmm?
We're
No,
not here.
pointing it. What's
I mean,
next?
if we need to save some of these too for our other, the
Yeah.
other members, that's fine. But I just want to make sure. I have a tendency to forget to give things to everybody, so I want to
What
make sure.
is this whole thing? Yeah.
I want to hold on to that chess piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the arcane people should end up with that just because it's a puzzle.
It's definitely something that my character really likes to study things. It's part of his. Gets in trouble with
This
that.
is nature.
There'll be no selling it though, without me knowing.
I'm not actually planning on selling it.
Just throwing that out there. All right. I will pass the chess piece over to you. Hopefully, it doesn't hurt you.
Ring of protection, ring of swimmy swim.
I already
Magical.
have a ring of protection, so I cannot use another one. They don't stack.
Double.
Pretty sure Erlu also has a ring of protection.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't have
Double protection.
Does mage armor stack with rings of protection?
Yes.
I think somebody who's in combat more should take one before.
Do you have a ring of
Not
protection already?
necessarily,
don't.
because it also provides bonuses to saving
Saves.
throws.
Not
It's
death
not
saves,
just a-
but yeah, saving
Mhm.
throws.
So it's not just an AC bonus,
I know.
which
But I'm
makes it
saying
very
that-
useful for literally everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just saying because it provides the AC bonus, it should go to the melee people first.
Who has the small armor
Do you
class?
have one?
No.
But she's not here right now. I mean, we could
I said
hold it for her,
potentially I
but
can hold on to some of the, or we can hold on to some of the stuff that was just.
Not allowed to discuss here.
the cloak's fancy, but
I'm in my room, sitting quietly,
I can-
pretending I don't exist.
I mean, I could use
I can misty step.
Yeah, so
Zero
you have
row.
Misty Step, which
Yeah.
is kind of the same thing.
that.
Yeah.
Dimension door would be very useful for
Yeah.
for not
We're getting out of
necessarily
there, yeah.
not necessarily good things, but I mean like
Oh,
sometimes
let's
good.
look up what gust of wind
Sometimes
is.
I mean, I guess if I needed to get on the other side of a,
It's primarily like a really utilitarian mobility device.
It's better when you can move people though.
because I mean like, say a trap we're having issues with, I could technically go around the other side. And
And technically, you don't have to be able to see where you're going. But there are some definite problems with going to some place that you have no idea where it's at. Like, say you want to go through to the other side of a door, but you don't know exactly what's on the other side of the door.
Ah, I'm stuck in the table.
Yeah, if you go to a place already occupied by an object or creature, you and anyone traveling with you, which won't matter with the cloak, take 46 force damage and you
Did
fail
I
to
kill one of
teleport.
Jordan's characters like that?
So,
Like basically kicks me back through.
yeah.
And don't teleport anyone inside of a wall.
Don't want to get split.
But you can say, I want to go 300 feet that direction. And you can, assuming it's open, you will appear 300 feet in that direction.
And you can go at angles and stuff too. It doesn't have to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 300 feet straight up.
But if like it's like if there was a doorway or something, then I could technically go up into that, like a archway or whatever, would be like right there.
Yeah. Or if you really needed to be on the other side of a room to deal with some sort of creature or get away from something. Because you can also use it to say, like, if you're grappled or trapped in some way, shape, or form, you automatically escape because you basically leave that space and go to another location. Misty Step does the same thing.
I like
So yeah, for him, it's
it.
nice, but it's not.
Yeah.
He's already has a similar ability that he can call upon.
Or you could use it if there were traps or something that you needed to get on the other side of an obstacle.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Booby traps.
He's a
Dealing
trap.
with the ginger on the floor.
That's what I say. Booty traps.
Yeah, the booty traps. They're the ones who trap the treasure.
Well, I mean, if it
No booties.
depends on how you guys feel about me holding on to that.
I'm interested in the fan. I think that could be pretty utilitarian. But I do not fan myself with it.
Please
Well, if you don't activate it, then it's fine. You can
I
still,
fan myself with it.
Still fan yourself.
Her
with it.
head is
The
across
fan
room.
itself is gold. Has basically it's gold with a green silk screen across it with a kind of a silvery Asian style dragon across it with some
Do you
clouds
need to
and
write
stuff
stuff
like
down
that.
about the chest piece then, or
I think I got
It's
it
very
all.
pretty.
did you get it? Okay.
Magically ancient
Kind
chest
of JD
piece,
color.
summoning and
my
transmutation.
souvenir.
Yeah.
It's not really,
Yeah. But it has an intelligence
yeah.
of some sort.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then there are 4 healing potions and 3 scrolls of healing. Are you out of potions?
I have a couple of potions left. I've got 3.
got 2
I can't
left.
utilize the scrolls, unfortunately.
Yeah, we need a paladin or a cleric for the scrolls.
Yeah.
So I'll hold on.
Technically, the druid could use the scrolls too.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
When he has thumbs.
So
Yeah.
when he gets back, I'll make sure to give those. But the potions, I took some for myself, so I am equipped again with them.
Yeah, it's best to spread the potions out as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So
Well, I'll take
2,
1 or
they're small.
2. I'll say 2.
okay. You're good.
Yeah, I've already got 3 of my own, so
Okay.
I'll pass those out to the others.
Okay.
What?
Hold on, everything.
You don't have any?
Nothing.
You've got Jesus. You can boop yourself.
Man, no Jesus. She's no paladin. She's just a fighter.
She's a magic
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
She's an
right.
eldritch knight.
I keep thinking you're a cleric because you're small. SMOL.
That's what
Yeah, that's
Patty
your other
calls me.
character.
Small bean.
Yeah, that's my nickname at work now, Small Bean.
I need a calculator real quick.
Or good small bean. Or good bean.
Is there still?
Just bean.
There's 5 here. 6,
3 of us.
7 total.
Oh, right.
I know. Just
For money.
He's like, how many people am I paying? That's what matters. When did you get a watch? Or have you always had a watch?
So after the
Got
sun
it for my
sets,
birthday.
and everybody's kind
But I've only
of
started
going
wearing
on
it
about their
recently
business. There's
because
still a
I had to
handful
get
of
it,
like lingering people,
adjusted
but you've
to
kind of
fit
been
properly.
left on your own
I hate
for
those
the
kinds
most
of
part.
bands because they put them out
There's
in here.
people that are talking to
I
basically
don't have
it's
any
people
problems
that
with
are
this one,
like
luckily.
friends specifically with your mom or specifically with your brother or whatever. So you kind of most of the people that you would normally be talking with have left. And technically the ceremony comes to a close after the sun sets. So you're pretty much free to do what you will. And because elves don't sleep, they don't have like the normal time schedules and stuff that everybody else has. So you can pretty much travel through the town and go to various inns and playhouses, and there's something going on all the time.
So before my cousin leaves, I want
There are
to.
5 of us here.
Yes.
She only has number 6.
Yes.
Jenny's
She does
number
live here
7.
in the
And
city.
it doesn't exist right now.
Jenny died.
I know she died, but I'm
Sorry, Jenny.
keeping that cut right now. Hoping to
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget you have stuff too.
No, I don't. I've got a vial. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm gonna study that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we already buried her, so.
Okay. So you get 73 gold, 12 silver, and 8 copper each.
What?
73 gold,
Okay.
12 silver, and 8 copper.
Okay.
Stuff that I picked up.
Thanks.
You guys.
Wish my G's and my S's looked different.
Okay, so before my cousin leaves, I want to stop her and kind of ask and say, you know, you kind of showed up and took us really quick from where we were, and I'm afraid that my friends back there are not going to know where we went, and they're going to start getting worried.
Well, we did leave them a note, but I understand your concern.
We left them a note?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, is there any way to
And
contact
I
them?
haven't
very-
been kidnapped.
it wasn't a very
Don't follow
detailed
me.
note.
Yeah.
Is there any way to contact them to make sure that they know that I'm coming back and that I'm flying?
If
I
you had a
don't-
bird feather token, you
I
can
don't
tweak that.
have that particular spell, but I'm sure I could come up with a scroll for it.
Okay, or
But
something.
I can always
Like
take you
pull
back
tokens
whenever
out
you're
of-
ready to go.
Okay.
Or I
Um,
could also take you back and you could gather your friends and bring them here. You just have to make that decision and let me know what you want to do.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I need all of their assistance for whatever killed my dad. I mean, it could just be a beast, for all we know.
It was 5.
It was
I'm not
5.
there.
Yeah.
There was 5 of them and some mysterious bodies.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long day.
And none
Let's-
of you have hit.
Let's I will I'll think about it and let you know in the morning.
Yeah, very well. Going to head to the Shimmering Swan. There's a bard there that I wish to listen to. Would you two care to go with me?
Sure, I'll tag along. Do you want to go? June first?
Oh, sounds good.
Okay.
What?
Tag along cookies.
So you guys kind of leave the house and you begin making your way along these very beautiful bridges that stretch between the various massive trees, going from one large platform to another, where all these houses and shops and everything are kind of built up in the branches, the boughs of these massive trees. And you're just kind of walking along, and ever so often there's these little glowing orbs that just kind of float just off to the side of, like, say, the bridges or the walkways and everything that kind of provide light and everything. But there's these magical orbs. They kind of give off a kind of a pale bluish light. And as you're kind of making your way through everything, you see lots of various elvish couples and individuals kind of walking along, and they're very fine elven dress. Not necessarily dressed up fancy, but dressed in a very proper, presentable kind of fashion, which is normal for the elves. They don't like to go out into public and be...
They don't like to go to Walmart.
They don't slum it.
Yeah, they don't like to slum it.
Okay.
But they're just kind of walking along, and some of them that you know will briefly, stop and have polite conversation with you.
They still ignore me.
Yeah, they will look at you, smile, and nod in your direction, but they don't start conversation with you or anything.
But they don't pretend you don't exist. They don't
And they don't try to enslave you and or graft you with a spider, so
Yeah.
win.
It's fair, it's fair.
But they just kind of offer their condolences and wish you luck, you know, and then of course go on about their way because they don't want to linger too long. It's rude.
Yeah.
What's the elven culture like when it comes to vengeance and revenge and, you know, eye for an eye kind of thing?
Not so much. I mean, it varies from person to person, but the culture itself is no more vengeful than any other culture, really.
Or it's just like,
I mean, they're not quite as rambunctious as the dwarves when it comes to feuds and everything. They don't really have feuds amongst the elves. The high elves and wood elves get along. They have an amicable relationship, but they generally separate themselves. Like her cousin is a fairly rare anomaly amongst the elves, as wood elves tend to marry and reproduce with other wood elves, and high elves tend to marry and reproduce with other high elves. Occasionally you get your elves that will fall in love with a human or whatever, but even that's fairly rare.
So she's just a very rare breed.
Yeah, she is uncommon. But they don't treat her any differently than they would anybody else.
well, I just meant like, how likely is it for your character to want to,
That is completely up to her
yeah.
and what she feels about it.
Do they believe she, like, off, just kind of, a stranger coming up and speaking with her, do they believe that she is automatically like a high elf, or what else?
They treat her mostly like a high elf.
Okay.
For all intents and purposes, she actually
she-
is.
Yeah.
Because
It's more
that's
so.
yeah, that's where her traits and everything.
So most don't recognize the wood elf at first.
No, those that know her don't treat her any different than they would the wood elves.
That's good.
Generally speaking, the elves don't. They don't.
They're not
They have
conscious.
friends that are high elves, but it's a relationship that they build gradually.
Friends.
You know, it's
It's
not
not-
it's not an automatic. I hate all high elves. It's mostly okay. High elves are high elves, but I have some that are close friends. But that's a relationship that we developed gradually and over time, and then those relationships are just that. They're no different than any of their other friends.
Okay.
It's just socially speaking, they tend to gravitate towards different ideals and aspects, even though a lot of their beliefs are similar.
They tend to stay with the same species.
Well, high elves tend to be a little bit more knowledge, arcane based, and the wood elves tend to be a little bit more nature based.
Buy your castle.
So there are some cultural differences between the two.
Just not to the point of where there's a feud.
Right.
Okay.
But you guys make your way to this open amphitheater that's basically kind of built out into these various branches and everything. That sets the backdrop of the theater is basically the night sky. And there's this elvish bard up there. And, he's sitting on like a little fairly plush stool with a variety of instruments on little stands around him. And from one song to the next, he'll switch instruments to accompany him in his various musical verses and everything. And it's actually very pleasant. Some of the songs are more upbeat, some of them softer, kind of quieter, ballad type
Not
love
necessarily
songs.
sad, but
Not necessarily sad, but
more mellow.
yeah.
How many elves would you say lived in there? In my town?
In your town,
Yeah.
there's a little over 100,000 elves.
It's a
It's
big
a
place.
big city.
Okay.
And it is a coastal city as well. Even though the vast majority of the city is up in the trees, there is a section that is down on the seaside with the docks and the various ships and everything.
Where she sells seashells.
That particular portion of the town is also where most of the non-elvish visitors are kind of contained. They're not actively prevented from going up into the city or whatever. But they very actively try to provide everything that they could possibly want down there.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily feel like they have to go into the city.
So it's very politely telling them,
Yeah.
stay away, please.
Yeah. The wood elves are very much not necessarily xenophobic, but they would much rather keep everybody
They're just
out of
private, that's all.
out of their business.
Yeah. What I know where the hunters,
The lodge.
the lodge is.
The Cormiery Lodge is actually outside of town a little bit.
Okay.
There's actually a small fortress, I
Okay.
guess you could say, that's
That
basically
makes
their
sense.
lodge.
They do their training and stuff out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit outside of town. It's not far enough out of town. It's easily within like a regular walking distance, within about half a mile.
Okay.
But it is outside of the normal boundaries of the town.
So Erilu and I probably would have come across them in the woods because when we were living out in the woods and going on adventures, we would
Yeah,
have
you
come
can see
across
them
the
from
hunters
time to
and
time,
stuff.
but they mostly are basically assigned a task, and then they go and do it
Oh, okay.
if they're called upon to do so.
Okay.
Otherwise, they just kind of, like your father, spend a lot of time basically assisting like the local law enforcement in this area, and then of course training other Cormier hunters
Okay.
in the Cormier hunters in the lodge and everything. But if he was, just, for example, in this particular case, he apparently was assigned some sort of case that took him very, very far from home.
Okay.
For, I don't know what happened to my map, but the place where he was found is about as far across the Elven lands as you can get from your home.
Is it in this one?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're here.
Okay.
This is your hometown. He was found over here.
You
Oh,
lost your
wow.
butt plug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why does everything gotta be
Hmm.
butts with you?
That's a butt plug.
First you got the
That's
butt
a-
plug,
It plugs the
then
butt.
The Cormier hunters do tend do a lot more business along this area where the borders and stuff are at, with occasionally going up further north into the Elven Kingdom, but almost all of their business usually runs somewhere along the borders.
Be quiet.
So
So
that part of it is
someone-
not that weird, but he is a really long ways from where he was
But
going.
someone has to know why
Why he was over.
he was over there.
But you guys spend the evening listening to music and stuff until the gnome finally falls asleep on a bench, and then you take her back home so that she can rest.
Okay.
I get sleepy. And drunk. It's 11.
Nope, it can't. It's... Give it that.
It was gonna explode.
The next morning, after you guys have divvied up all your treasure and everything, you wake up early the next morning and kind of gather. The two humans of the group are starting to become a little bit more restless. You know, you guys. There are things to do in this particular town. Is pretty much done as far as what you guys can do. You have already been here for several months already, and the town really doesn't hold anything more for you at this point.
There's no more big jobs. I need to find something to do.
And you weren't.
Would you like to kick your feet? I'm bored.
A little bit. I mean, they don't have a thieves guild really here or anything. I mean,
There's nobody to rob because everybody's nice.
And before you tagged along with us, you were in between stuff, if I remember right. Right? There wasn't like anything that
You
were
was
in the
in
middle
town.
of
In
and then
between
go.
jobs right now.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm just out for the adventure.
So with what I know and have found out, what would be like just a direction to head?
Well,
If we
you
wanted
know
to do
which
that.
jungle to go to. I don't know if you wrote it down last time,
Yeah, I
but that is a very long ways
the
from
City
your current.
Tune.
Yeah,
I think that was right.
yeah.
Of course,
And we,
Erilu is still
yeah.
MIA.
Well, you see him from time to time, but he comes and goes.
Okay.
He is currently laying on the floor of the inn that you're staying at, moping.
And he did say that they went back home, is where they.
Yeah, because we did have the note.
Mhm. And you know where that is.
Yeah, I mean, it would be travel across the sea.
It's much closer than the jungle is, but it's
Yeah.
still not that close.
I mean, it's
Still several
like
weeks
the
journey.
It's the capital of the Wood Elves, or is it just a big Wood Elf?
It's just
city?
a large city,
Okay.
but it is the easternmost city, which means it is the closest city to Elvish City to where you're currently at.
I mean, we could make our way there.
Well, to find your friends and get you.
It's where you guys initially caught a ship to make your initial voyage around the coast and everything.
I'm sure you don't mind having a little bit of protection with you when you're on your travels too. So.
I mean, there will definitely be, like, the threads that I have, there's not really a good way to deal with any of it here or get.
Technically, you have the locket.
I forgot what is the locket again? I don't remember that.
The locket allows you to travel back
Oh,
to
right.
that tomb.
Araloo has that locket, that's right. Yeah.
But is that a one and done, or is that a party and done?
I don't remember.
I think that one opened a portal, right? Because we had that whole issue of portals in the woods.
But
Well,
even
you
then,
had that issue of portals
you
in the
probably
woods.
wouldn't
That was
want to
two
do that
characters ago
without
for me.
Adri anyway.
Well, Araloo might not.
Araloo wouldn't, yeah.
These guys. She doesn't even know Adrian.
I barely know.
Yeah.
But
You've known her for what, a week?
I think so.
Not even that long.
Yeah, not even a week.
if you're willing to travel to the eastern Elvish lands,
I got no plans next week.
we could.
They can be quite attractive at times. No, just kidding.
And they have scholars.
I don't care about scholars. Unless they're attractive.
You got that sexy librarian look going for them with the glasses, and they let their ponytail down.
I think that only happens
When you
in
say that,
tales.
I think of the father from Lord of the Rings. The elf. The
Oh,
elf.
Arendelle?
Yeah.
Or
With his
Arendelle?
hair
Where the
up
fuck
in
did I
the
get
tail and
Arendelle?
He pulls his hair up.
Oh, Thranduil?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
TH.
It's me, father.
But we could make our way to the nearest coastal area where we could catch a ship.
Or, yeah.
She has a hat on.
Party
Oh.
hat.
You know, party like a D&D party.
Araloo's like, I don't care. I've been abandoned.
Quit crying. You've gotten paid. Whimpering over there.
And it goes from mewing cat to whimpering dog.
The chittering spider, that one's the creepiest.
If he turned into that inside of here, I think he might have.
He's already gotten chased out of one inn because of it, with the broom. Like,
I believe he would not make friends in here with that. But, yeah, I mean, I said I'm up for more adventure. That's
So
what I
we'll
signed
be able
up
to
to.
find something there even if she's not. We can leave a note at the Ryokon to so that way she knows.
Alright. We'll gather up our stuff, man.
Alright, so you guys start gathering up your belongings and preparing to check out. Meanwhile, the sun is rising where you're at, and you kind of done with your meditations, and she's finally woken up. It's kind of weird being back in the Elven lands where the whole concept of sleeping doesn't really interfere with anything you want to do because people have their own schedules and meditate pretty much whenever they want. But having just this one this one straggler that
Needs 9 hours.
needs to actually sleep.
Probably
And
more like
Elvish
noon.
wine has a
Yeah.
kick.
In all honesty, it's noon. It's not morning time.
I'm wearing too much cherries.
But she's
real
up.
life.
What would you like to do this morning?
So when I wasn't meditating last night, and I was thinking I was gonna go talk to my cousin about either trying to send a message, or she seemed pretty interested in trying to go get my friends. What was that?
It's a 3. She closed the binder clips and flipped a D4.
I was gonna go see my cousin, and she seemed pretty, like she wanted to go get my friends. Like, I don't know, it kind of seems like she's trying to show off, like, well, I have another scroll, I could do it again.
Well, she just wants it to be convenient for you.
Yeah.
Plus, she is kind of trying to show off a little bit for you.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had all these adventures, and she's looked up to me, so now she wants to show me what she can do. So I'll go talk to her and probably make plans to bring my companions, and because I could use their help tracking down.
Okay. So you gather her up and you take her with you, I take it?
You want to go see my cousin about about contacting our friends, or would you rather
I
stay
didn't really
here?
like those guys. The dog could never remember who I was.
One thing I am interested in is that other area where they keep the travelers.
Oh, down by the docks and stuff.
Mhm.
Well,
Because then we could kind of see if they know something about maybe someone or something that was supposedly needing to be chased down.
yeah. I think there's too much information to gather right now with just 2 of us,
That's
and no
fair.
one will talk to you, and you don't speak Elven. So
You're like, hi, do you know anything about the secret mission?
so we could probably
Looking
use
for
some help.
sailors.
Can we just
Hey, sailor.
locate them and take them here?
That's what I was gonna go talk to my cousin about.
Okay, instead of, I mean, a message would be good, but at the same time, what if we just show up and we're like, hey, come back?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go talk to her and see.
Just roll up. Get the spell, bitches. We're going hunting.
Careful where you pop out at, too.
That was awesome.
I finally seen Mean Girls, so I can
Right,
make
yeah.
references now.
Alright, so you begin making your way towards where you know your cousin at, which is she would be at the Conclave. She is actually a member of the Dane Three. God, I can't even pronounce my own stuff. The Dane Thriri Conclave, which is
What?
kind of a wizard's conclave in the Elvish lands. It's one of the main wizard conclaves that kind of
Punch that conclave in
work.
the face.
They
That's
don't
the
necessarily,
bar.
they're not like a government agency or anything like the Cormiri are,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a lot of contacts with the actual council, and
The last time I smoked
they
that was
are often
Nicole and I.
sought out for
Just-
to
I guess.
advise the council and the king in various matters of magic and what have you. It was actually this conclave that transported the entire Elvish kingdom through a network of spells into the Feywilds.
Okay.
So it's actually a fairly powerful conclave, even though she's technically a novice of the conclave.
Okay.
But you know that she would be at the conclave here in town. So you begin making your way through the city and towards a large central Valenwood tree, which is this one massive tree. It's simply known as the Mother Tree. It's thought to be the eldest of all the Valenwoods in this particular region, at over 3,000 years old.
Holy cow. It's older than a lot of societies, forget kingdoms.
As you make your way towards this tree, you get to it and you slowly follow this kind of winding walkway that kind of goes along the outside edges of the tree. When it has like several like little side platforms where there's various shops and everything. But it slowly goes up and up and up until you finally reach this upper platform where nestled in the boughs of the uppermost portion of this tree is a twisting, winding tower that seems to have been crafted from one of the major branches of the tree itself. And it has like various little windows and stuff that go up the side with little balconies and everything. You see various mages practicing spells, birds like ravens and owls and that type of thing coming and going, obviously familiars for various wizards inside the conclave. As you approach the base of the tower itself, you go inside and you find there's a winding stairwell that goes up the inside of it, and there's various students, some of them standing off to the side with their books and everything, seemingly debating politics, everything from politics to spell theory, and various different things. There's another group over off to one side looking at a potion and discussing the various qualities of this particular potion that this other student has made in their alchemy class. As you enter into this place, one of the wizards, kind of a mousy boy in these really heavy, oversized silk robes. They're kind of a silvery grayish color, but he's got very short cropped hair and like these little wire rimmed glasses. The fact that his hair is so short kind of makes his ears seem a little larger than normal, much the way that your little niece's undeveloped features have left her ears seemingly large. He's got these large pointed ears, very kind of small face with like speckles of freckles across his face with that little like button nose and everything, and he approaches you as he nearly trips over his robes and he looks, "Excuse me, I do not believe that you are part of the conclave. As a representative of the guild here, it is my duty to ensure that you arrive at the safe place you wish to go to, unharmed and unmolested."
Well, thank you. No, we're
the two
not.
separate things.
We're not part of the conclave. I'm looking for my cousin. I forgot her name.
Sarah Sennell.
Sarah Sennell.
Oh, yes. I know her. She's actually a friend of mine.
Okay.
I'll take you to her. She's currently in her scrying classes.
Okay. Thank you.
And he kind of leads you up a series of stairs and into a small doorway to the side that leads you into the interior of the tower has a hallway on the inside that branches out to various like little classes, some of which are kind of set out on various balconies. Some are actually in rooms, but the one that he leads you to is a rather open chamber on this balcony, and at the very heart of it is a kind of magically shaped bowl of wood at the very center of it. A large pool with this crystal clear water that seems to have a slight glow to it. You see a group of wizards, male, female, in varying colors of robes depending on their preferences, standing hand in hand, staring at the pool, slowly chanting some sort of arcane phrase that you don't quite understand. Yes, dear.
The stairs. Are the stairs made of wood like it's part of the tree? Because you said it spirals up out of the middle, or
Yeah.
are they metal?
No, it is part of the tree that has been shaped.
Okay, continue.
But you see your cousin, Sarah Sennell, is kind of in that group.
Is she holding hands?
Yes, and they're chanting, and soon you see the water slowly rise up out of the fountain in kind of this swirling orb of glistening, glowing water, approximately 3 feet in diameter. And it kind of slowly kind of turns and everything, and you start to see an image form inside. The image looks to be that of a turbulent sea, and you see this ship kind of rolling in the waves as it's making its way towards this island. It has a greenish glowing light at the top of the pinnacle of this like stone monolith that rises from the sea. They kind of sit there and they kind of concentrate on it for a little while, and then it zooms in and you see that there are a number of hands on the deck. going about their various business, pulling on the riggings. The helmsman is wrestling with the wheel to keep the ship on its course, going through these various pathways between these jagged rocks that are threatened to tear the entire ship asunder. But they're pressing on, and you see this one tiefling on the deck in its red flesh and its shiny black horns and this like studded leather armor as it's kind of walking amongst the crew, and he's like, keep the ship right, we must get to the island. And you see this other figure kind of off to the side, huddled, drenched and wet in these crimson robes, its face completely obscured by shadow, but all you see is these golden pinpoints of light, and you hear this voice say, yes, it is almost time, we must hurry. And then with that, the vision fades and the water splashes back into the pool, and the group of students kind of sit back, tired, exhausted from the exertion of trying to scry upon this distant location that you have no idea what it is that's going on there or why they were trying to contact it. But she looks up at you and bids farewell to the other students and approaches you, and she's like, dear cousin, what can I do for you?
Well,
First question. Wasn't her name like Syra or something?
Sarah Sennell.
I thought it was
Sarah
just
Sennell.
Sarah.
Sarah Sennell. S-A-R-R-A
Okay.
apostrophe
You were saying Sarah.
S-I-N-E-L-L-E.
That's a lot of.
Sarah Sennell.
That's a
It's
lot of
Elvish, bro.
letters.
It's Elvish.
And that's just her first name.
She gave me 3. It's the Lord of the Rings reference. I was being funny. Carry on.
But
what's your
Sarah.
second question?
I have forgotten at this point because I got distracted by the she gave me 3.
So we were thinking about contacting our friends, but you sounded like it might be even better just to bring them here.
Oh, it's completely up to you. I can take you back or bring them here. I might be forward, but given your history and the events, I've just assumed that you possibly want to investigate what took place.
Yeah, I do. I don't want anyone else to, if there's something that bad out there,
But don't adventurers work together to do these things?
Yeah.
I mean, should you go it alone?
No.
With just, no offense, just the gnome to aid you?
No, definitely not.
No
That's
one
why
or
I
halfling?
think that if you're willing to bring my friends over here, that'd be great.
She doesn't even know.
I have a much stronger, since you have a strong connection to them, you can help me scry upon them and find out where they're currently at, and then we can teleport to that location.
Okay.
Let me acquire the scroll.
Okay. Can I ask you before you go get that, like, the vision that we just saw in the, I don't know if that was private or you guys just, that's that random? Like something that's happening right now?
It is an event of note. That's all we know. We channel our energies together and we tap into the wilds. And they direct our vision towards some sort of current event. And that it has some sort of significance to something. We don't normally know, but it's an interesting practice. We scry in on these things, take note of the vision, and then try to study it, see where it leads. We will most likely go back to it eventually and see what the outcome was. It helps us understand the events of the area and try to predict possible outcomes for dangers that we wouldn't otherwise see coming.
It's very interesting.
Are we on an island?
What's that?
Are we on an island?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Alright, well, carry on.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay.
And she leaves the room. Just have fun, look about.
Don't touch the water.
I'm not swimming.
But she quickly hustles out of the room. Several of the other students kind of look at the two of you. Not necessarily in any kind of judgmental, just a curiosity. Is like, you're not wizards. Why are you here? kind of thing. So it's mostly just a piqued curiosity.
Where is your handler?
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How do we get one of those pets? I want a cat.
I want a cat.
Pretty sure you have to study magic to get it familiar. Sorry.
I'm a magical fight.
You could take a level in wizard and get
Well,
him
she
familiar.
can just take. Well, actually, no, she can't. It's not one of the spells that she can take. It's a
It's not.
eldritch.
Having
eldritch
an animal follow you around is not all that great.
Then again,
Especially when you just forget that it's there most of the time, and then when like there's area impact damage, you forget that you have to make saves for it, and then it's just like, oh yeah,
I
no,
think
that
she's
thing's
more
dead.
talking about how she has an animal that follows her around all the time.
Sometimes
Arrow.
turns into a druid, sometimes it's an
Ah.
animal.
That's
So
They
it's
poop on
really.
the carpet too.
oh, does he poop in the house?
She went literal wizard over that.
Wizard.
After a few minutes, she returns. She's got the scroll case in her hands, and she goes over towards the pool, and she drags over like a little podium and she spreads the scroll out, and so there's like a little clip, and she clips it down so it stays open and everything.
Mm.
And she's like, "Okay, join hands, please." And
That's some crouching on your part.
so you guys hold hands, and now focus on your friends. Now give me a wisdom check.
Do I have
See
that?
how well you. Yes, you can assist her.
So she
AKA,
gets
Do you remember
advantage.
anybody
she
else
should
like?
get
Do I get advantage?
Yeah.
No, remember he was scruffy. He had 4 paws.
12.
12. You're trying to focus on the members of the group. Some of them
When you assist,
you don't
advantage
you
roll.
didn't build that much of a bond with a couple of them, and you're having kind of a hard time focusing on any of them in particular. So the pool, as you see it before you, kind of shifts from various images and everything, kind of at random. You see a fox with strange eyes, and then a village with some strange bird folk in it, and then it kind of shifts again to a ruined hole in the ground with various like rubble and trees and everything all around it. You see a docks area, then you see a tomb where you see this shriveled corpse of an elvish woman slowly kind of making her way around a chamber. At the very heart of it is a single little pedestal with a small box on the top of it. And then, but you're having a difficult time focusing specifically on the people that you want to focus on.
Do I maybe have something in my bag that Aralu would have given me, like a trinket or something?
It's possible.
That
you think he
maybe-
did?
Yeah, I mean, he might have, I don't know, some kind of trinket like for a necklace or...
Look at this shiny rock I found.
Yeah, like something like that.
Sure.
I don't know. So maybe like rustle through my bag and see if there's something that he gave me.
All right, so you
There's a chew toy in there.
grasp a focus
Just speaking
and
that-
try to focus it again. So with advantage.
16.
So 19.
All right. This time you kind of focus on Erla. Having this trinket kind of helps center your thoughts. Plus the fact that you got your companion over here also kind of focusing on, you have her focus on Erla as well. And at first you just see various images of various wild beasts, forms that he's taken before. But slowly it kind of converges until you see him walking along next to 3 other companions. He's got his sack over his shoulder. He's kind of kicks pebbles on the ground and kind of mopey looking as they're making their way towards some docks
Okay.
in the city that you left, near where you left them at.
And then is my cousin holding our hand too, or is she at the scroll? Does she
Well,
have
she's
to-
basically you're on one side, she's on the other, and she's
Okay.
kind of in the middle. And then once you have focused on Erlu, she begins chanting the words to the spell off of the scroll, and soon you guys you feel your stomachs turn, and you feel yourself thrust away from the location where you're at. You lose all of the air in your lungs, and it's very hard to breathe for just a split second. And then with a pop, you appear on the roadside about 10 feet from the four of them as they are walking towards the docks at the river. You four, or not counting, you three, not counting Airlu because the player's not actually here, hear a loud sucking pop as though there's a lot of displaced air and everything. There's like a little bit of wind, and then there's this like sweet scent that you recognize as lingering scents from, well, your homeland. And you turn and you see Adri
I was gonna say, do elf farts usually
Juniper.
smell like that?
and
Plus the
then
mountain trees.
a blonde, what you guess is a high elf
Yeah.
in robes, silvery blue robes, standing next to them. And your cousin's like, you must hurry. We only have a certain amount of time before the spell will snap us back.
Is that Adrian?
So I'm
that
gonna
is
start
Avery.
waving. Silent, Airlu.
Let's go.
Airlu just turns into a wolf and comes over and
Probably
You're
bowls me over.
bowls
instead.
you over and starts kind of licking your face.
Airlu, get off.
He's like trying.
We
Then looks at her like, who the hell is she?
That one could never remember my name.
Hi, Juniper.
I had my cousin bring me here. We from our lands, and we'd like you to come back with us and help us figure something out. And
That's faster than taking the ship.
Yeah, we
But
were
we-
actually going to head out
oh, you guys were coming to us.
pace.
Oh, well, that's
The long way.
perfect. All right. Well, now I have a quicker way, and we have to go quickly.
And this is cheap as free, so I'm good with that.
So I'll
You
basically
notice your
walk
cousin
over.
doesn't move from the spot that she
Okay,
was.
so we have to go back to my cousin. I
I'll
think.
go grab one
because
of the cousin's
she's-
robes.
Oh, recall. Yeah, I could. I know how this works.
And you guys gather back over there. Everybody's kind of running around. You finally get him to
Heal.
sit.
Sit.
And then
Bad
all of a
dog.
sudden there's like again that swirl of energy, the sucking of air, and then a loud pop as you reappear near the scrying pool that you left in the tower.
You could have warned me on that one. I almost threw up on it.
Sorry, there wasn't much time to warn
Speaking
you.
of which, you're somewhat accustomed to it with Misty Step, and I'll give you advantage because of your arcane practices. But yeah, the two of you need to make Constitution saves, basically.
Wait, what about me?
You've done this before.
19.
19, yeah, you're fine.
20.
No.
You're
Last
like-
time you did that, I didn't poop for a week.
You get that bile in your throat, that nasty, but
Gonna have to get used to that.
she's like, the strange elf maid that you don't actually know is like, well, you don't have to worry about it too much. I have no more of those scrolls, and I can't
We're not
afford
doing that,
another."
Ian.
Well, I'm good with that though. For now.
That was an interesting experience. Hi.
And she's like,
Hello.
I'm Liesel.
I do not wish to be rude, but I am exhausted. Between the scrying and then, of course, casting this particular spell, I need some rest.
All right.
So if you don't mind, I would like to return to my chambers. I will meet you at your home tonight, perhaps.
Okay. Thank you.
And farewell. I hope that in time you become more accustomed.
Does she speak English or common?
Yeah, she's speaking.
No, she does not speak English.
Well, she spoke Elvish to you and then Common to you. Actually, Gnomish to you.
She's knowledgeable.
But yeah, she knows she can speak Gnome.
Oh,
All right,
I do
well-
speak that.
It only
I know
took
what she
them
said
3
to you.
years to get accustomed to me. I'm sure you won't. You'll be one of the family in no time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope that you do feel better. Thank you for all of your help.
And thank you. If there's anything else I can do for you, please ask.
Well, we probably will not be welcome to stay around here. We're not members of this conclave, so why don't you follow me? We'll go back to my house.
Meanwhile, there's the young elvish novice wizard standing there. He's like, yes, anytime you're ready to go, I can lead you to the exit.
I'll show you where the door is.
As I'm looking around.
Yeah, we'll go to the exit. Let's go.
Very well.
Can I
Follow
put
me.
water before we leave?
Don't touch the water.
And as he's leading you back out, he's trying to give you kind of like a brief history lesson on how the the conclave was formed and all this, that, and the other.
And how very
Kinda like-
exclusive it is.
Yeah, how very exclusive it is. He seems very, very happy to be part of the conclave. So you guess he's probably new.
How much of this have I heard before, just from knowing as
You know very well this conclave. You at one point had what was essentially a scholarship to be part of the conclave, but something else came up and took you down a different path.
Demons.
And I'm probably having a hard time even hearing you talk about it because Erilou's over here like
Yeah.
nuzzling into me like, where were you? I missed you.
He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
trying to talk to you, but since he's an elf form, he can't actually talk.
So
But
it's
he's
kinda
just making like
Scooby-Doo.
grunting, barking noises.
Yeah.
What?
Like Scooby-Doo.
Like
at that one
Scooby-Doo.
point, and he was like
Bro,
trying
like-
really hard to talk, and he
Yeah.
was just like, very weird, like, calm down, Scoob.
But he leads you out of the back downstairs to the main doors and out of the tower, and he's like, well, if you have any questions and wish to come back for a full tour, my name is Tannen, and I would be glad to give you the full exclusive tour.
Tannen, does the Conclave have a library system wherein they loan out books?
We don't loan books to strangers.
Especially
How hard
not-
is it to become one of the Conclave?
Impossible for you. Not to be rude, but you are not an
Oh,
elf.
that was definitely rude, but that's all right. See you around, Tannen.
We can go on. Look, I mean, if here's a book you're looking at, we can go on that tour.
Like, sir, what's in your pants?
I mean, they seem a bit posh, so I don't have a problem with them.
Robin Hood on them.
Hi, we haven't met.
You can borrow
Hi.
it.
I'm Adri.
Hi, I'm Leslie. Nope.
Legal.
I have no idea who I am.
Where'd you pick this one up, Silent?
The spell,
We've been drinking
Funnel.
quite a bit before we got on this.
right?
Last 2
Whales
days has
of war.
been quite a. You know, we've.
What happened after I left?
Well,
I
You
discussed
are
this.
missing a person.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you hadn't noticed, we.
Yeah, where's
I
You're
figured
missing
that-
two persons.
yeah, where's Connie and what was your other name?
Sonia?
Sonia, that's right. This is
Was it son?
No, it was
No.
Bridget.
Sonia was the first one.
Yeah.
She got smashed.
Which is too bad. I really like it.
I like
I had
that.
plans for that.
So
one.
what happened to the party? And
Oh,
Bridget and Connie and, yeah, that was it.
you know what? Let's walk and talk. We'll go to my mom's house and eat some food and.
I only know everybody for like
So
a few days.
you have been to this city before. There are actually a couple of other Wood Elvish cities that are very similar to this one, built up in the trees and everything, which is much different than the High Elven cities, which tend to be more crystal and stone, artistic and beautiful in their own right, but not quite as intertwined with nature as the cities of the Wood Elves. But you've been here before. The rest of you two specifically, have never been to the Elvish lands, nor have you been to a Wood Elven city. And so a city in the trees is kind of a new experience for you. As you walk along the various walkways and everything, you kind of look over the edge and you see that you are several hundred feet in the air. And the forest below is pretty much empty, devoid of any kind of like real traffic that you can see. You do see the occasional like deer or elk or rabbit or other woodland creature walking around down there, but you don't see any foot traffic from the elves or any kind of hints of roads or anything, just a handful of winding paths and the occasional garden. But the way these walkways are formed, or they seem to be magically crafted from the tree itself. The tree is kind of sculpted to provide these walkways. Some of them have these like little arches and stuff where you will go basically under branches and kind of through the trees themselves, and you slowly work your way downwards until you're kind of on level with some of the other trees. Still very far in the air, 50 or so feet, but much lower closer to the ground than you were in the mother tree.
Drinking in this city could be lethal if you're not careful where you're walking.
You pass by a fairly large opulent-looking building. Has a sign on the front that says the Golden Hind. And you assume that it's probably an inn, as you see some foot traffic and stuff coming in and out of it. Not all elves, but mostly elves at this point. But you pass that and go to one of the trees on the far outskirts of the town, where in this tree is a singular structure, a large wood elven manor house. It's got these kind of peaked, very sweeping, sloping roofs with large kind of crystalline stained glass windows that kind of decorate and adorn the outside of it.
Okay.
There are several areas where it's just completely open to the outside world, basically leading out onto these various balconies and walkways and everything that are part of the private house itself. But there is a double door. It's kind of like a peaked arch that kind of opens up, and it currently stands open. It leads into a semicircular room that basically kind of curves around the trunk of the tree. At the opposite side from where the trunk of the tree is a river rock fireplace. Currently, the hearth is cold, but there's this beautiful fireplace that's kind of crafted off to the opposite side of the tree trunk, and then there's a door on either side that leads to a balcony that's kind of out behind it, and you can hear some voices and stuff. A little bit of music coming from that direction. There's a set of stairs that kind of that basically follow the tree trunk going up into some of the upper rooms and everything, where your room that you've been staying in is kind of up there, and there's like a little bit of a walk balcony around the top of it and everything. But as you come into here, you see that there is an older elvish woman that looks a lot like Adri, just several years older.
Can you really tell the difference between them in age?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good 300 years difference between them. But she's over talking to a young elvish gentleman. Has similar features to Adri. The same dark hair, the same deep bronzish kind of skin tone and everything. Muscular, looks like he spent a lot of time in the wilderness because he's got that kind of slightly weathered outdoors-ish look to his skin. The clothing he wears is much more in keeping with a woodsman than the kind of stately attire that you've seen most of the elves on the various pathways and everything kind of wearing. Across his back he has a unstrung longbow and a quiver with some arrows. At his side he's got a satchel that's got some various goods that obviously you don't know what's in it, but he's got a fairly full looking satchel at his side. And he is talking to the woman, and they seem to be having some sort of a debate. Off to the side near the hearth you see a young elvish girl. You would say she's probably the equivalent of about maybe 10. If she were human, you would guess that her age would be about 10. You have no idea what her actual elvish age is, but you guess that she's in that general adolescent age, and she's playing with some little elvish dolls and a little wooden unicorn, and she's over there kind of playing by herself. And as you guys come in, she's like, "Auntie Adri!" And she kind of comes running over towards you, her kind of auburn locks kind of bouncing over her shoulders.
I'll give her a hug and say, "How are you, Sandra?"
Good. Have I shown you my unicorn?
No, you haven't. Do you want to show me?
Yeah. She takes you over and she shows you her little carved unicorn. It's basically the size of, like, say, a Barbie-sized horse. So it's a decent size. But it's definitely elvish in make because it's very perfect in its details, giving it a very lifelike look. And it has, like, some slightly moving joints here and there. But for the most part, it's just a very nicely crafted wooden unicorn.
That's beautiful. Where did you get it from?
I got it from Grandpa.
Oh, well, that was very nice of him.
He brought it to me. He said he got it from the capital.
Oh, wow. Was that for a birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Last year.
Well, now you have something to remember him by. Very good.
It's my favorite toy.
That's awesome. Because elves say awesome.
You're talking about the human lens. No,
Right.
that's why you're the cool aunt.
Guess who else is here?
Huh.
No, you have to.
Oh, I'm gonna say, I can't speak English. I'm gonna yell over to my brother and say, Tovas, mother, I brought some friends with me.
No, they kind of break off from their conversation. They seem to be in a fairly heated debate. So completely oblivious to the fact that you guys had come in for the most part. But your mother kind of takes a breath, puts on her smile, and kind of glides forward. She's like, "Welcome. Any friends of Adri are welcome within our home. Would you care for food, drink, place to rest? I'm not certain as to when the last time you slept was. We don't keep such schedules here, but you are very much welcome." And she kind of looks at you. "You look familiar. Do I know your family?"
Unfortunately, you might.
Oh.
My name is Silent Andronicus.
Oh.
Look at it.
Oh.
What did you bring in?
Of that family, I assume. And she kind of looks at you.
It's okay. I met Silent in the woods with Erlu, and we've been helping him on a quest.
And she gets nearly knocked down by the dire wolf that's
The wagging tail.
chasing the little girl around who's giggling.
Would Erlu have visited? No,
He
I don't
doesn't-
think so.
He's probably been here a couple of times, but he's never been in your house.
Okay. Well, this is Erlu, and I'll to my cousin or to my niece and say, "This is who I go on all my adventures on with." I'll kind of like grab hold of him as he runs by me and like, make him sit down and like whisper in his ears like, "Maybe you should change form."
He turns back into
You turned into a
himself.
Yeah.
And not very happy about it, but he's like, "Well, I happen to be having a great deal of fun, but if you think it's best that I stay in this form, I guess I can do that."
Just for right now.
He goes over, plops down on the couch.
Now he's sulking again.
Like, I'm a unicorn. Can you turn into a unicorn?
This Silent and Erlu have been, friends, and we've been traveling around on adventures.
Oh, I remember Erlu, or at least the stories of him.
And we met I've never met.
I met her an hour ago.
Yeah, we've been on lots of adventures, and I thought that I can't remember her name.
Sarah Sanel.
Yeah. Okay, I had Sarah Sanel bring them here from where we were traveling together and adventuring together because I want to look into what happened to Father.
It's understandable.
But we appreciate your hospitality, as it is.
Since you're going to look into it and you have experience in such matters, as she kind of looks over at your brother, perhaps you can speak to Tovas and convince him that he shouldn't be abandoning his family to go on this hunt.
Okay.
After all, he has no experience in such matters.
What does Tovas do?
Tovas just kind of glares, but he maintains his calm because it being Tovas himself is just kind of like a local woodsman.
Okay.
He does basically hunting and a little bit of like just kind of local tracking and stuff for the area. He doesn't have any experience in adventuring at all. He's a fairly skilled archer and fairly knowledgeable in like his woods lore and everything, but he's not an adventurer.
Is that what you two were arguing about when we came in?
Afraid so. And Tovas is like, I would prefer not to discuss this in front of strangers. This is a family matter.
Okay. We'll talk
But-
about it later then.
Very well. I must take my daughter and go home anyway. I'm sure the wife is curious as to where we're at.
Well, give her my regards.
I will. And he gives you one of those like very nice hugs with a little pat. Scoops up the daughter, who's basically trying desperately to convince Erlu to change into any kind of numerous different forms, and he finally drags her off, leaving you there in the room with your mother.
They have the unicorn?
Hmm?
They take the unicorn?
It's their favorite toy.
Steal kids.
I'm not gonna steal the unicorn. I'm just making sure that they didn't forget it.
And I'm gonna look back to my mom and say, would it be better if they stayed down in the port? Or
Oh
is
no,
it okay if they stay
are
here?
they are welcome here.
Okay.
If they are friends of yours, I'm certain they are trustworthy enough. Kind of slight glance towards Silent, and then again at Erlu, which is kind of funny because she's more scrutinous of the two elves than she is the
Yeah.
two humans that have joined you.
Right? And one of them is a rogue.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that.
Shh, I'm just, you know.
The two elves that
Hide
I've
the
known
silver
for,
spoons.
well, Erlu have known for 50 years.
Well, Erlu has a reputation within the
The
town.
skin
in the
color.
area
And my
as
family
being
has
kind
a
of
huge reputation.
trickster,
Yeah.
and his family has a very dark and unfavorable history.
So does that make me kind of like the black sheep in my family? Because I've been like out in the woods hanging out with Erlu for like 50 years.
A little bit,
Okay.
a little bit.
All right.
But they I don't know, they've just kind of accepted
just
it. I mean,
eccentric.
it's
Yeah.
been
Three
it's
kids,
been
one
a,
of
it's
them's
been a
allowed to be
long
crazy.
time. I mean, for elves, it's basically half your life.
Mm-hmm.
You've been kind of doing this, so it's kind of just accept that's who you are.
Okay.
They know you're a good person, and so they expect that you'll keep any of your less savory companions in line.
All right. All right. Well, do you need food and drink?
Well, what time of day is it by now?
It's drink.
It's noonish,
Noonish. Then yeah, I would require.
or at least noonish here.
Yeah.
Rogue
It was
requires
about
sustenance.
mid-morning where you were at.
All right.
Well, we could go down to, I'm sure there's a restaurant somewhere close by.
Your mom's offering food.
Yeah, but my dad
Yeah, there's
just
actually a
died.
couple of different restaurants.
Make
I
her-
just
Yeah,
died.
you do
I
it.
just died. We're
She
gonna
doesn't
make
want
her
to make pancakes.
food for all of you.
And then you have the Golden Hind, which
Not this
is
bread.
an inn.
Hmm?
And then, of
Almost
course, you
bread.
have the very, if you want
How many
something
did you
that's a
have?
little bit more,
It's cheap as
you
well.
think, comfortable for them, which would be down towards the docks area,
Very true.
where there's a variety of more human and dwarven and
Oh.
other
Here.
culturally
Here's a little bag of money.
diverse restaurants and
I don't know
inns
that I
and
even wrote
taverns
down the back.
and shops that you can.
It would be.
Well,
down
since we just like showed
You
up out of
should have
nowhere
worded
and my
it.
mom was arguing, I'm gonna tell her we're gonna go get some food and let you kind of get things ready for us to stay here. Since we just kind of showed up
You probably bought
without
more potion.
letting you know, I'm sorry about that. So we're gonna go get some food and I'm gonna catch up about what I missed when I was here.
Okay,
This
Alright.
is what you have.
seems reasonable.
Okay.
I will
It's
make
gold.
sure that the rooms are made up for when you return.
All right, thank you, Mother.
So right
I want
here.
to I want to bow to her and then say, like, you know, whatever the appropriate level of bowiness is for
Okay.
or rank or whatever it is, and say thank you again for your hospitality. If there's any way that we can ease the trouble and discomfort, please let us know.
Thank you. It's very polite of you.
And then
Is she?
let this one lead the
Is
way.
she a royal of some type?
She's of a relatively wealthy household, but not necessarily a noble.
Okay.
She's
Her
a respected
status is
member of the
mostly
community.
from what was gathered basically off the service of her husband
Mhm.
and her sons.
Okay.
So that afforded her a certain amount of rank and status within society, which she will maintain even after her husband is gone. But that's basically she's not of noble heritage,
Mhm.
but she is kind of attained a certain status within the town because of
Yeah.
who she was married to and the things that he has done. She herself is also a notable figure,
Yeah.
and she does a lot of stuff like charity work and that kind of stuff.
Well, I was just
But
saying if
she does her part, but
if I were to depart, I guess greeting her how a noble was. That's
it's polite.
That's all. That's making sure. So I would be doing the same before we.
I want to see if I can do it on the wrist. That's what I was talking
You
about.
have to do that.
It pops down here.
Okay, so it-
I don't know what's popping.
It is.
About 11:35.
okay, so we'll get you guys all caught up. So I'll do some role playing, then we'll finish it up. That way we don't get too far ahead of the youngs for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've gotten the group back
The
together.
band's back together.
Lots of information put out.
The band.
I hand you a little sack of money.
Oh, what is this?
That's from the adventures that we've been on together so far.
Oh, thank you.
Been meaning to give those to some.
No. I'm glad you're being honest about that.
Held that on me.
Put that in my bag.
You need to write that on there.
What?
That right there.
This one.
Did you get any magical items, or are they?
I haven't given her those. I had the money divvied out in little pouches when I figured out.
I just don't remember which magical items were left to be.
All that's
divvied.
left is the ring of protection or the ring of swimming. Because you took the fan, I ended up taking the cloak and the dagger. Cloak and dagger.
Thank you for re-whispering that.
Like cloak and dagger.
I'm actually looking forward to that TV series. I hope it's good.
So you think they're gonna do the Runaways part where she separates the two?
They're supposed to be working on the Runaways too.
Yeah, Runaways is going to be a Hulu
Yeah.
exclusive. I don't know about that.
It's gonna be weird. I mean, it works for a comic book, but having a pet velociraptor just doesn't seem practical IRL, you know?
You don't know that.
I read the comics, it was pretty fucking impractical.
Okay,
So
so,
the rings we'll figure out afterwards.
so you guys make your way down towards the docks, I guess?
Yeah.
As you leave make your way down one of the various pathways that leads down to ground level. She leads you towards the coast, and as you exit the majority of the forest, there is a very distinct change in the overall temperature and the weather. In the forest, it was warm, comfortable, almost spring-like in the overall feel and temperature of everything. But as you get away from that, the temperature drops about 20 degrees. And there's a pretty steady cold wind that kind of blows in from the east off the sea.
So like a magical barrier within there.
The grove itself has its own kind of climate control. It's part of the nature of the Fey touched trees. They exist in a perpetual state of springtime.
That's why it always smells there.
It's always fresh and fragrant there.
I just need to
But
bottle that.
the docks area, there's a slight mist to the air. Some of it a combination of spray off of the ocean, and then there's like some gray clouds and stuff that seems to linger, kind of creating a little bit of a drizzle across the docks. A number of elves toil away, doing various manual labor, carrying sacks and carts going to and from the main city itself with various goods that they've purchased from merchants traveling from across from other lands. But you also see here a rather large collection of humans, dwarves, Goliaths, some half-elves, and a variety of other races, including a couple of half-orcs and tieflings. But here the number of species that you see is a much greater diversity than what you saw within the Elven City itself.
Elves?
You see,
More elves? I said you mean elves and more elves?
yeah. You see that most of the structures here are also culturally diverse. Some of them are dwarvish in their overall construction, very sturdy, blockish with the runic designs and stuff to the decor, while some of them tend to be more Venici with the sweeping gabled roofs and stuck with the red clay tiles, similar to what you're more accustomed to. And then there's some that are a little bit more grayed, aged wooden structures, common with the Nordregal and some of the more northern human cultures. You see off to one side there, you see something that looks very familiar, which is a gnome warren. One of the hills just up from the coast itself, there's a circular door and a couple of windows kind of cut into the side of the hill, and you can see a chimney that kind of comes up out of the top of the hill, and everything is the gnomes live, are known as hill folk. They live under the hills and dwarven in their little warrens.
But not a dank and nasty hole.
Not a dank and nasty hole, but a comfortable, clean hole.
What do you guys feel like eating?
Food.
Would I know any certain restaurants that I like
think
that I would
good
There's
probably
a
visit?
couple of different places here that you would generally get food. There's actually a Vinici Inn, Vinici Run Inn here that serves a rather large assortment of various Vinici style dishes, which tends to have sauces and noodles and various very tasty and filling cuisine, although a little hearty for most elven taste buds, but it's good stuff. During the time that you were in Venetia, you enjoyed it.
You like what?
I would like a hearty soup.
I'm sure they have soup there.
My balls in marinara sauce so they get a taste of home. Sorry, it's from Boondock Saints.
Alright.
Keep him out of the kitchen.
Oh,
So,
You don't remember
I don't remember that. I
Wait,
think you're
what part is
crazy.
that from?
Rocco's?
Anyway, yeah, we'll go there.
That's
all right, so you go to a tavern. It's called the Vineyard. It has a sign up, and it's got kind of like a cluster of grapes on either side with the little swirly vines and some leaves on it, and it just says the Vineyard in the center of it. You, or actually all of you, can smell the food coming from inside. That very the sense of basil and garlic and oregano and all of those Vinici herbs and seasonings that are common in all the dishes that they serve. You go in and you see that there's a fairly large number of people sitting around the various tables that are kind of spread out, each of them covered in a red and white checkerboard kind of tablecloth with a simple little lantern in the center of it. Most of them have like a little basket with a little napkin inside with like what they call breadsticks kind of tucked inside of it. And there's like various little clay pots with various dipping sauces like garlic butter and some the marinaras and everything that olive oils and things that are basically available, and the guests are drinking wine and eating these meals and everything, and you just see a broad range of people in here, but a rather large number of them are Vinici traders that just far from home and taking advantage of a home style meal, much like their mama used to make. Behind the counter, you see a short, rotund Vinici woman yelling at a couple of cooks, and she's got this big wooden spoon, and she just kind of smacks one of them on the hand, and she is just yelling at this one guy, and she in Vinici. You recognize that she is just complaining about how he touched her sauces and he's not to add or subtract anything. She's in charge of this sauce, and if he does it again, she's gonna cut off his fingers.
I approach the counter
I have
and
no
say,
doubt.
and I just say in Vinici, spoken like a true Vinici woman to her.
She just kind of turns and looks at you. And just kind of looks up and down and smiles. Ah, welcome. What can I get for you?
Well, we're looking for an empty table.
She kind of looks around, kind of looks and sees that some people are still eating over here, some people are eating over there. Then she sees a group of people off in one of the side areas that their plates are empty. They're just kind of, their wine glasses are pretty much done, and they're just sitting there talking. And she goes over there and she slams the spoon down on the table. Hey, get out of here! You're taking up space! And they're all just like, whoa. They finish off their wine and everything. They quickly throw some coins on the table and shuffle out. And she's like, Antonia, clean this up. And this girl comes over and she starts kind of quickly cleaning at the table and everything. And she's like, please, have a seat.
Quickly sit down. She's telling us to sit. So.
Yeah.
All right. So we all sit down, and then I'll start off with, how do you guys feel about having
Playing footsies under the table on accident. Sorry.
Would you care for some Vinici wine?
Yes.
I've heard they have fantastic breadsticks.
Yes, they do. You? Or something stronger?
No, I just want
No.
Soup?
soup. Soup sounds good.
Soup at the end.
She's like, soup. I want soup. Fine, I shall bring you soup.
She's asking for soup. And yes, we would like
I want
a
nice
bottle of
meatballs.
a fine wine for the table. And then we'll take a moment to look over and figure out what we're all eating. And we'll, just a moment, though.
Very well, very well.
Soup with noodles.
Antonia, bring them wine. Bring that one soup.
And one of those kiddie cups with a lid.
And so the other girl that cleaned off the table comes over. She's got like the little basket with like the little breads and everything in it. She puts it in the center of the table with a collection of various little sauces and everything to dip it into. And she's like, please, I will bring you your wine. Think about what you want. We have some fettuccine alfredo. We have lasagna. We have veal parmesan. We have a stuffed veal with a mushroom sauce on top.
What's the
And
house special?
I shall bring you the house special. You will like the house special.
Or else.
There must be break-in.
Now think about it. Now we'll be back. And she leaves.
I forgot to ask for the gluten-free menu.
You're in the wrong place, man.
Oh,
This
is
is a
fancy.
fancy-
I can eat all the spaghetti I want.
I might go to Olive Garden for lunch tomorrow. Sorry, I'm sorry in advance.
It's all right. I
Do we
understand.
have an Olive Garden here?
No, there's one in Olympia. I had to go to Olympia for a doctor's appointment.
I thought we had an Olive Garden here. I was about to get really excited and
There
just
is an
go
Italian
like,
restaurant here that's actually
And
pretty
Casami, it's
get some
alright.
of the
Yeah.
breadsticks. But they don't have Olive Garden breadsticks.
No.
good. They don't have boxed breadsticks, I'm sorry.
Good
All right.
breadsticks.
Anywho,
So, you guys discuss the events.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's fine.
Well, I guess I will start. We met up with the Witch of the Woods, and the Jade Sorceress caught up with us there, and we had a encounter.
Bit of an incident.
And during that fight, Bridget unfortunately did not make it.
Yeah. There's some weird bird people there, too.
Yeah, that Kenku.
Any news on whether or not that was your mother?
She was not. No, but she knew my mother.
Uh-oh.
But outside of that, she gave me a little bit of information, but she's far away from here and far away from there, so we found out what the Jade Sorceress was trying to do, resurrect her husband.
You didn't even tell them about how the witch fell apart and we had to put her back together.
Yeah, she got turned to stone and shattered, but with Connie's help, we were able to restore her.
and what happened to Connie?
She was hit by rocks.
The Jade
And fallen in-
Sorceress, while trying to resurrect her
Well, what?
warlord.
Wait, where was
She died
this?
on the way out.
Yeah,
Where
we're
was
jumping
this?
way ahead.
That's only the part of the story I know. I'll let them tell it.
Okay.
Or Bridget,
Yeah.
you said, or Connie?
Connie.
No,
Bridget
yeah,
died in the fight.
yeah,
with the
Bridget,
witch- with
died at the Kenku village with the Witch in the Woods, which is where we were headed to before you disappeared. After that, the area where we found Connie and Aralu, that is where, that's the Jade Temple, where the Jade Sorceress basically lived and where she was performing the ritual.
Oh yeah, and the Jade Sorceress came out of Connie. That was interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, she had been an
Yeah, you
unwilling
had heard
host
that story.
for
Yeah,
that.
my character's still grossed out.
Is that why she'd had hair in her mouth and such?
Yes.
Ooh, weird.
Yeah.
Was she like
Possessed
That's
by
like
her?
Connie had like a
Possessed
jaw
or-
issue. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
Like
thought,
like a snake. Just unhinged it and kind of
That's
Really?
What happened?
Yeah.
Like literally came out of her?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
gross.
Wow.
I didn't think,
Is there
I
a
didn't think Jenny was
reason
gonna make
she
it through
was
that.
inside?
Yeah.
Poison her?
When she was in the prison,
Yeah.
But
something
why?
happened there. We don't know.
Hmm.
That's all we know that much.
Like the face huggers.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
the Witch of the Woods arranged us quick travel on Eagles back to the town.
Yeah, Erla didn't like that much.
They were huge celestial eagles, though.
Why didn't you like that? Is he probably back in dog form?
They
Wolf form?
He's under the table eating scraps.
Yeah.
But she saw us land and she was researching the jade.
Warlord.
Lisa was. Okay.
Yeah, and she decided to tag along, and we were rushed for time, so we did not.
Check references?
No.
Hey, that turned out to be pretty handy.
She had a decent resume.
Let's draw a fire.
No, yeah, no work experience.
No, but we made our way through the trap temple to the ritual. We managed to. It was tough, but we managed to take down the sorceress
And interrupt the ritual.
and interrupt the ritual. But with her death, the magic holding the temple together started to fall apart, and the temple started to collapse.
Okay.
And it was
During our
escape, the floor underneath Connie fell out, and we were not able to.
Well, she came out with us on the disc.
Oh, that's right,
but
yeah.
She was hit by debris.
Yeah, the temple was
The
falling
temple
apart.
kept falling
She-
apart and hitting her.
She got
She got pummeled to death.
yeah.
But we did manage to get her body out
Okay.
and her belongings. And I mean, well, I mean.
Did you at least give her a proper burial?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys just leave her where she was and walk off?
It was in the Jade Tomb, okay? Like, that's as nice as it gets around here. There.
She was buried in there.
Yeah.
We poured one for our homies.
Old English. Some
Wow.
oldie.
Well, it seems like I missed a lot. Sorry for,
That one missed you a lot.
well, I know that. He was probably sulking and pouting when I was gone and he didn't get to come along.
I didn't
But
really
it
want
sounds
to.
like you had to leave under unfortunate circumstances from what little I've managed to gather.
Yeah.
She didn't fall in a hole.
Yeah, my father and my older brother were killed quite a distance away from here. Them and 3 other men. But they own
There were men with him or elves?
elves, whatever.
Oh, shit.
They're elf men.
Shots fired.
Well, there was also that mysterious body that we don't know.
Which mysterious body.
Well, it was just one of them, but they don't know which one. That's
Never mind.
because there were 3 bodies recovered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
out of character. I remember there was 3 bodies recovered. One that they hadn't.
Identified.
Yeah. Where were they found?
What's it called again?
Eastern. The far
Yeah.
eastern rim.
West.
Western? I thought it was east.
No, we're on the east.
Where on
Yes.
I'll do this somewhere.
Mm. No, that was the.
Northwest.
Yeah, it's northwest of Vormar.
That is a
You know
long
what Mormar is.
distance.
Yeah, and so they seem to have been killed by some kind of large animal, but they weren't eaten. Their hearts were the only things missing.
Werewolf.
So,
quote unquote animal?
What was your father doing out there? That you know of?
you know what? We don't really know. It was a mission, but it's kind of open-ended. So I was
A
gonna.
mission from whom?
That's I don't know.
God.
So someone has
Well,
some.
You do, kind of.
Yeah,
Well, the Cormary hunters.
I know what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't know your father was a hunter.
Yeah, you're not completely certain as to whether or not they're looking for you.
true. Yeah, so so my father and my brother were part of the Cormary hunters, and they were on a mission out there, but we don't know
And this will be the first time that I found out that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not something she would probably talk a lot about.
And that would be something that would be in the
Because that's who
purview.
you were running from when we found you, probably? Was the Cormier Hunters? you think?
It would be something.
Similar?
Well, it's something that they could be tasked with.
Yeah.
Like
You
it,
were in our lands when we found you.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because I would.
Here specifically.
Yes.
Because I was from further back east, you know it. Because I
Mhm.
was from the capital, Valinar.
Mhm.
So
So
the back west. I mean,
I
sorry.
was going to.
Which is literally halfway between here and Bormar.
So we're going to be going towards where you're from if we are investigating this, but I was going to try and find out who sent them on that mission and what other clues there are. But I figured that if I'm going to go try and figure this out, I wanted you guys here with us.
I'm happy to help.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm always out for treasure and adventure. And helping friends too, yeah. Helping friends.
That's all right.
At this point, a large plate shows up for you. It's a white porcelain plate with these large manicotti on it, and it's stuffed with cheeses
Definitely
and
all
Italian
shit.
and Venice
This is my
sausage, and it's got this sauce drizzled across the top of it, and it's all baked and everything. It's just this. It just smells delicious. Off to one side of it is another smaller plate with a cannoli on it.
I'm glad I asked for this. Would you guys?
Where's Mission?
You get like a little bowl. It's got some chunks of
Not even minestrone. You're ready for my dish.
yeah.
Would you like a little bit of this?
Can I have the cannoli?
You
It's
can have
like-
a piece of my
Don't touch my cannoli.
You know how long it's been since I've had food from home. The others, have you guys decided what you want to eat, or should I order for you?
Salad.
Spaghetti.
With
They're gonna be
Venice dressing.
so disappointed.
I'm going to get the house special because that looks really good.
All right. You want salad with the Venice dressing on it? Basically oil and vinegar.
Sure you're not a rabbit?
I'm an elf.
Same thing.
So is he?
Yeah. She's a
He's,
wood elf.
he's more snooty.
Yep.
But you guys wind up getting food, and you discuss more about what's going on here. The next time we get together, we will basically pick up from here, and you guys will most likely go to the Cormiri Lodge
There you
to
go.
try to gather some information.
Arielu can come out from underneath the table,
Yeah.
and Jenny's new character can make an appearance.
Potentially at the lodge itself.
Potentially. Or maybe somewhere in the docks area.
Bum bum bum.
Since we have no idea what she's playing.
No.
That's okay. I'm sure she has no idea what she's playing at this point. So
Really?
You could always. We should let her know like that we've.
well,
in a
we're in the
different
port
city.
city, yeah. So,
So that way
Oh,
she can-
hopefully they'll
way
watch
hotter.
the video,
Yeah.
since nobody else seems to watch it.
I play it.
Don't act
Yeah, we
me
play
like
it.
that, John.
Yeah.